Baldur's Gate 3 is a huge game, and in it there are a lot of dungeons. Some optional, some not so much. Everyone's gonna be able to go through it. But a handful of them, the optional ones, you can go an entire playthrough without even getting a hint that these exist. They're kind of put there to really reward the player. So in this video, I'm gonna go over act by act some of my favorite dungeons that are currently in the game. That way, if you haven't gotten to a certain act yet, or you only want to see dungeons from Act 1, you can click off the video, save it, and come back to it at a later time. Let's get started. So the very first dungeon is the one in Act 1, called the Dank Crypts. It's located on the top right area. You can kind of circle around the beach to get to it. You can try to convince the raider to let you in the front door, if you roll a good check. It's one of the first dungeons in the game. It's very well designed. You got booby traps, you got good loot, there's a surprise encounter, multiple surprise encounters. And at the end of it all, you run into a really cool NPC. At the end of the day, it's a memorable one, and it's one of the first. Also in Act 1, we have the Monastery. This one's special because it's not just one dungeon. There are multiple dungeons in here. You can spend hours just fighting, with a ton of things to discover at every turn. You also get some story background on Lizelle and the Githyanki Krish that's residing in this monastery. With a ton of rooms, a lot of cool fights, some more difficult than others, and a few puzzles to boot. You can't go wrong down here. Now on to Act 2. Speaking of puzzles, this next one's got a ton of them. The Gauntlet of Char. Located inside the mausoleum, enter through a sequence of buttons. This dungeon contains multiple trials where they act like semi-puzzles and battles. As you progress deeper and deeper, you're treated with a lot of unique fights. Some monsters, some something else entirely. You also get treated to a displacer beast for the first time, which is super cool. Depending on what options you pick, there's a couple ways to go about this, which ultimately captures the essence of the game. You kind of pick your own adventure, and no two playthroughs are the same. But if you do manage to pick a fight, strap yourself in, because this is one of the tougher ones for sure. That's it for Act 2. For Act 3, there are some really insane dungeons. Some not as long, but still really good. First up, you got Cazadors Palace. You got fights, loot, rooms. Explore this exquisite fancy style palace that leads to inner chambers of Cazador, which is such a cool boss fight. The thing about the Act 3 dungeons is a lot of them wrap up a lot of your companion quests, so it feels like an ultimate closure or the finish line. So that really adds to the whole effect. You're not just raiding a place just for loot, you're looking for a purpose, looking for a solution. The game gives you an option to genocide an entire species. It's crazy. Another dungeon that I really enjoyed was the Steelwatch Foundry. Located at the southwest end of the city, you stop in this place with one goal in mind: to disable the Steelwatch Foundry. So you pick your way through the locks at the front entrance, fight some guards, make your way all the way down. You remember that one steel guard you fought at the beginning of Act 3? Well, now there's a couple of them at the same time. It lacks what some of the other dungeons have in terms of exploration and a sense of discovery, but it really makes up for it with a really cool mecha boss fight. In my playthrough, I wasn't able to save these people, so I just did what I could by avenging them. This next one is my all-time favorite, and I actually skipped this on my first playthrough. It wasn't until my friend told me, "Hey, how'd you like this one dungeon?" And I said, "What? What do you mean? What are you talking about?" And that's the House of Hope, Going to Hell. In the northern section of Baldur's Gate, there's a place called the Devil's Fee, and this actually serves as an entrance to Raphael's home. Here you place a few things on the pentagram like the skull, Mammon's coin, a diamond, and some incense, and you're able to spawn a portal to go all the way to hell. This dungeon has some insane loot, and if you really want to min-max your characters, you definitely want to do this one. Not the most challenging puzzles, but everything is worth it once you get to the final fight and this song starts playing.